conversation on State of the Nation, but right now we relax and talk about your relationship, because being a Wednesday, we definitely have to talk about it. And for today's conversation, navigating long-distance relationship. I'm usually Stanley Nyeringita. You can always call us live 0795 045 864. So anza kuweka credit ya simu sahi and call us live. And our question of the day for you is, what is your view on long-distance relationships, particularly in this day and age, in this digital age? What is your view on the long distance? Umejaribu hii maneno ya long distance? Tuambie experience yako. Are you thinking about the long distance relationship? You can also tell us your view on the same. On WhatsApp, you can text us. I'll be sampling your feedback as it comes in. 0793 267 279. 22047 is our SMS number. And we have very special people today, very experienced people who will be telling us and giving us their insights about this conversation on your feedback, and they will also be helping you understand how to navigate the same. Jen Kitao, she's not a new face to the relationship conversations. She is a psychologist. Karibu sana.
Asante.
I hope the rains are not zikuhangaishi sana.
Not really, not a big deal.
Good stuff. And Gabriel Nyamu, he is a purpose coach. He's also a certified human capital transformation consultant. Quite a mouthful title there. Certified by IHRM, which basically means you're a human resource expert.
Exactly, absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you for having me.
Nyinyi ni wale watu tunaonanga hivi tunaheshimu sana watu HR.
Deducting your shares.
Oh yes. And ladies and gentlemen, as we always do on Relationship Wednesday, we start off with a proverb, particularly African proverbs, because African proverbs really touch us even as Kenyans. And for today, we travel all the way to Nigeria. Mm-hmm. The proverb says, it's an Igbo. Igbo is one of the tribes there in Nigeria. The house of the person we love is never far. The house of the person we love is never far. I'll start with you, Nyamu. What do you understand by this proverb?
I think there's too much wisdom, especially on some of these cultural wisdom that we get from our diversity of culture. I would tend to believe that has some sense in terms of that I don't think here the distance there, that far is not necessarily about physical distance. It's the effort issue.
Okay.
That you do anything possible to be able to keep a relationship that you really love. But I must also say, of course, most of the time, there's what you love, but also there's what you need. If a relationship is based on what you need, that may be far.
Okay.
But if it's based on love, then you can do anything in terms of effort. You can apply yourself, you can sacrifice. So I see that proverb more going around the issue of sacrifice. You can sacrifice anything for the sake of at least maintaining a relationship that you love. That would be my perspective.
There's something you've mentioned there, and I'm pretty sure that the viewers picked up on it. Difference between something you need versus something you love.
Absolutely.
And we'll get to that because it's a very hot potato.
Yes.
So wengine watauliza kuna shida nikitaka kitu nataka. Gitau, what is your understanding of this Igbo proverb? The house of the person we love is never that far.
Yeah, it is never that far in the sense that I can make any sacrifice to get that which I need. It can be in America, it can be wherever. You'll walk in nights, you'll go mountain and hills to get that which you need and that which you think it will fulfill you. Because I think life is all about fulfillment. That which can fulfill me, I'll literally go for it. It doesn't matter what it takes. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll continue with you on your understanding and your assessment of, because you do talk to couples, aspiring couples in different ages, even from them, this now day and age, and how long distance relationships have transformed over the years. Remember big told stories of how back in the day, I don't know if it was your days when you were growing up, of how our parents would, go to different counties and even countries for that matter, and what you'll receive is unaenda posta, unapata barua, unaona okay, sawa ameniandikia leo, then you go again next month. But things have changed really. From your understanding right now, and even from people's understanding of what long-distance relationships are, what do you gather?
Yeah, long-distance relationship, okay, I would say they are quite tricky. They are quite tricky, but they are also very, very good because they'll enhance your communication. And especially in today's generation, it is quite easy because the communication is quite easy. We can communicate in the morning, in the next few minutes, in the over lunch hour, in the evening. Unlike those days where you're talking about mailbox, really, mailbox, and well, thank God in my generation we had the booth, at least
unangusha shilingi hapo.
Ndio hiyo, at least you'd call. But even then, you can imagine maybe like if it was the guy or even you had to go to the nearest booth. If you didn't have the phone in the house, maybe for the person who's calling from the booth to call you, you had to go to the nearest booth. The person had to go to the nearest booth, maybe the post office. Then now you can agree on the time. So people will be queuing there, and then we told Ninani,
Nyamu is here smiling as if he's reminiscing the...
Definitely.
Yeah, he can resonate with you.
Definitely.
And so today's, it is much easier. It is much easier for this generation, but it's also much harder. Again, it depends on the way you look at it.
Do they want it, the ones that you're talking to and the couples that are also in this type of relationships? Are they for it, or how are they working with it?
Some don't like it, but some don't mind. It depends on how you've been socialized, because long-distance relationship, they have their pros and cons. And one of the pros is actually communication, because you will realize that you can really improve on your communication. Sometimes you're so quiet because you can be married in the same house but never communicating. But as long as you're away, there'll be that sense of like you want to know how home is going on, how the children are going on. But when you're living with me, there's that assumption, sinawaona, But as long as you're away, you're likely to be inquiring, oh, how are you doing? How are they? So there's that sense of missing each other. Actually, your communication skills are sharpened.
Okay.
They can really be good, and not just with your hubby or maybe with your fiancé or whoever it is, but now it improves you all the way, because remember, you're the same person. So it makes you good in communication. And the other thing is trust. At least, like depending again on how you grew up, like let's say when it comes to the issue of child development, at age 2, according to Freud, he says that that is the age of attachment or detachment, depending on the way you've been brought up, you can actually detach, or attach. So it happens that at this particular point, because of the distance issue, you have to develop trust.
I love the point that you brought in on as of age 2. And Nyamu, when you take a look at the young people right now, a huge number of them are brought up by single parents. How does this affect their view on long-distance relationships? This person is growing up seeing, well, mom alishi bila anyone else here, so for my significant other telling me that to survive and I'm here and you're in Australia, how will that work?
The parental experience has a huge impact on perception and what you call worldview. So the people that you're mentioning, maybe the young, the Gen Alpha, the Gen Zs, if at all they find themselves then growing up, and the template of life that they fight based on how they view their parents do life is, my mom is the only one who is taking care of us. Probably they have a distant dad somewhere who come maybe once a year or during Christmas only. There's a worldview being shaped there. And we're also psychological beings. So that forms or build a memory of reference to think that's the way life should be.
The reality.
And I think that then can affect how they relate with each other, even when themselves are starting their own families. So they may think, I think it's okay. I don't have to have a lot of attachment. You don't have to spend in the bed every night with my fiancé or my spouse. And that can affect a lot, because it means then they are building on what they have seen. Not necessarily that is what is absolutely should be the case or the model. So say the parental experience actually is one of the greatest influence to the template of how we view life. Nevertheless, we also have to consider that there are dynamics of life Because if at all why your dad is not there is maybe because of work-related issues, assume your dad is a military officer.
Yes.
Like now this team that we sent to, is it Cuba?
Haiti.
Oh, Haiti, sorry.
Yes.
Haiti, you know.
Yes.
Ability to understand. We always told, don't assume your child is just a child. These children can also understand in their own context. If you're able to explain, because they are shareholder. If you're running a company and you have shareholders, what do? Every time you make a move or a shift in the company, you have to inform the shareholder. Let the children understand. So if you're the mother and you're single parenting, make sure the children understand the nature of that distance, that their dad is not here because of what.
So if you remove the because,
Yes.
This child grows up knowing that, okay, dad is an absentee father.
Exactly.
He just decides to come
Pardon me.
hapa na gazeti na nini ya nyama
Aha.
wakati anataka.
Exactly. And I also want to build on what Gina have mentioned. Here, let's not just talk about distance here. I know the distance here can be contextual.
Yeah.
You can just be around in the family, but you're distant. So
Very
I hope
Okay.
we have
distant.
long distant relationships that are actually living together still.
Right.
And I also want to build up on that sometimes, and I found it, sometimes I travel, and sometimes when you're out of the country, there's a way you actually really get so much interested with what's happening at home than when you are at home. So you find you're a bit more intimate in terms of the communication, you're probing a lot what's happening, how is my daughter, how is my son, are they feeding well, you know, it's quite very close. But when you're there and you're observing, you assume that things are okay. That's also a distant relationship by itself. So I think the distance here we can define it not necessarily in terms of the mileage and the kilometers away. It's the extent of intention of relating and being candid with each other, vulnerable with each other.
Right.
Because that's a human connection. In fact, I think we did a show here, I think several years ago. We were talking about married but single.
Okay.
People who are married
But very single.
but actually single.
And
that's a
Giselle,
distance, yes.
And Giselle, this goes to show what he's talking about, how couples would tend, either married or not, tend to take for granted their how their connection is as they just live their day-to-day activities. And then when now the other person is out of the country, for example, for a long period, is when it hits them that, hey, by the way, I actually do miss, doing this. We should have. Now that's what crops up mostly. Tungekuwa pamoja, when you're still here, we should have been doing this. We should have been going on dates for a long time. For couples listening to us this morning, how do they go about that?
Yeah, I think it is a very good opportunity for someone to realize that they needed to have given themselves to their partners and their family. However, for me, I look at it from also the Monroe's point of view, where he talks about developing singleness. Singleness is a very key thing, whereby you realize that you are whole by yourself. Yeah? When you realize that you are whole by yourself, wherever you shall be, you'll be able to, to know that you are complete, even without that other person. However, because of this connectivity, you now start thinking about your contribution toward the development of the two of you or the family. So this is very, very key to realize that I am me, with or without my husband. I am whole. However, he has his contribution to this marriage, and so do I. And so when I am away, I actually it's like now you start recounting where you failed. You start now coming to yourself, because remember, especially you who goes, it is even worse for you, because by the time you get friends who will actually now start occupying you. Remember, for me, you have left me to for example, whoever remains in a familiar ground. So they already have relationships around them. But as for you, before you build, this is now when things start coming to you, where you failed, and actually they become your anchor. As far as they are very much away from you, they are your only anchor. Because remember, grown-ups, unlike children, you don't build relationships so fast. By the time you start trusting your surrounding, your mind is just back at home. And so this is now where you start seeing where you didn't do it right, and again, like where you'd also want to build. And so this time round, even if you're not so close to your partner, you realize, now you want even to be more attached, and you're even asking yourself, suppose I didn't stay here long, suppose I lost my job here, what will I go back to, you know? And that can really improve you anyway. So it has its own, as I said earlier, it has its own pros and cons. And that is a very, very good moment that will help you also realize there's something that you took for granted, the being together. But now here you are, not together as you are. So you didn't take, you didn't take advantage of that particular moment.
All right.
Yeah.
This is a beautiful opportunity to remind you, when as you continue watching us this morning, chukua simu yako, call us live 0795 045 864. You'll definitely be seeing the number scrolling on your screens. 0793 267 279 is for WhatsApp. The number of SMSs coming in. So yes, you can definitely do that. You can let Anyamu as well as Gitau advise you on either you're planning or you currently in a long distance relationship as well. Just to sample, I think one of the comments on Facebook, Kipro Plasma nasema hiyo achia madereva wa matrailer. Nyamu, this goes to show how it seems as if it's for a specific type of people and not for everyone. Will you agree with that? I mean, long distance relationships, not really for everyone.
I think there is context than just to generalize that, because as I said, some of them are circumstantial.
Yeah.
As I was saying, you may be working and then your employer just relocate you to a different location. You're working in one county, relocate to another county or country. So, and therefore it may not necessarily be something that literally when you began, you had an intent that's the way. So I don't think somebody would be in their own natural consciousness intentionally they are living into that long distance relationships as an intent. Most of the times there are situations that will come, and mostly they will be maybe family dynamics or could be the issue of work. But I usually say this, things don't go wrong. Mostly they start wrong. If you had a strong foundation, because I don't think you will, when you're starting relating, let's say for this context maybe is a relationship that yields into marriage. How you begin is more important, because that's what is going to sustain that relationship, such that if the foundation was strong in the beginning, even when you're separated or there's distance amidst you, it's just a physical distance, not relationship distance. So those are two different things. But if the foundation was wrong, if you didn't get time to understand each other, build trust, as Jenny said, have honesty, vulnerability, because those are the critical ingredients of a relationship. If they are not grounded in the beginning, then you'll always struggle when even you have a physical distance.
Yeah.
So I'll say it's not for everybody. I would say it's more circumstantial. However, we have seen now the new trend where there are people who meet each other on social media and therefore they have never even met. And they are relating because, again, we are social beings, we have emotions, and therefore maybe just in that conversations, you're having that distance chat and video and gaming and all that, and you're building a human connection because we are entangled. Humanity is entangled. So you find a sense of that it's part of what you need in terms of emotional security, love. You're able to get it even for somebody you have never met. But of course, we all know, at least at the end of the day, we also are social beings. Therefore, sometimes part of the social connection is also even leading the nonverbal, listening to your heartbeat, and that requires a bit of physical connection. If it is by nature of work, there also should have some shared goals within the family to know how long will it take. It can also not be forever. When shall you have babies? if it's a forever distant relationship. So I think, and also children, if at all the marriage will lead into children, definitely children need to see the mom and the dad, how they do it, because you are modeling for them the reality of life.
So before, because right now, I want to bring in a hypothetical of a couple. We call them Susan and Steve, for example.
Yes.
So they have been in a relationship for, let's say, 1 year. No kids at all. And now, probably Steve is planning to go to Australia for work. So that means they're going to be having quite a long distance relationship. Isi kama Nairobi na Nakuru utasema I'll visit you every week, or here you have to buy tickets and all that. So how does Susan and Steve plan? Now they're having that conversation this morning, and Steve is telling Susan, by the way, nimepata a job in Australia and I'm supposed to travel there. How does Susan take this information?
Yeah.
Based on what you're telling us, how this whole foundation was built. So how does Susan take it? How should also Steve relay this information?
Yes, I think one is that we have to agree that my decisions and my actions affect other people, whether directly, whether mutually agreed or not. The choice of me relocating to go to Australia directly affect not even my fiancé or even my spouse. It will even affect my other wider family generally, even my friends or my buddies in campus and all that, because no human is in isolation. You cannot be an island.
Yes.
So I think the most important thing is to articulate the goals exactly. I know, like now, of a family that is actually married, have some family, have children actually, but one of them had to go and work abroad. Why? Because there's an opportunity that they got that they felt, if I work for the next 2-3 years, we are likely to build our house. Now, the house is a shared goal. I'm not building my house. We are building our house. Get that? So with that, the other person is a partner to this shared goal. And that's what needs to happen between Steve and Susan. There should be some certain mutual consent in terms of there's a goal somewhere. It's not just for me to feel good I'm out there.
Okay.
Because chances are, I'll go there, feel good, connect with others, and forget about Susan here. But if we had a very intimate and shared mutual goal, then we are all working, even Susan who is left here. Whatever hustle she's doing, she's also working towards the goal. What you call the unified goal. As Jane was saying, it's complete human beings who form another one complete unit, which we call the marriage. So it's not a half and then to form one. No, it's a complete and a complete that is forming a one complete unit called marriage.
Right.
So, so ideally, if there's a one shared goal and a vision with those two, there should be no issue. But the communication should be candid and honest. Because sometimes somebody may be telling you I'm going to Australia, but they had their own motivation, different maybe from the shared goal.
Even as we chime in on this, before we take a short break in the next about 2 minutes, again, how is this conversation going on this morning between Susan and Steve?
You see, it is very, very important, as I said earlier, that the issue of singleness and strong singleness is very, very key. Because you have your goals, and I have my goals. So the fact that we are married, I should not lose me, neither should you lose you. And so you going to Australia or whatever part of the world, as he said, as Gabriel has said actually, it is about the relational goals. What are your goals and what are my goals? And that is why long distance relationship has its own pros and cons. And one of the very key pros is the communication. And like, let's say like, especially to Gen Zs and today's generation, when these people connect, they are engaging very, very fast, even before engaging in very candid communication, where you get to know me and I get to know you.
Kindly put a pause on that. We'll be back to take a look at, and particularly for this young generation, how they navigating this kind of a relationship, the long distance relationship. You're out there, you're watching us this morning, and you'd like to chime in. 0795 045 864 is the number to call in live. Weka credit site, tunachukua break, kwenye maji kidogo, then we'll be right back. Weka remote hapo chini, useme mbali.
Vile unavyojua watoto wengi sana hawana namna. Mimi ningependelea watoto wasome.
I'm here to stress on education. At the same time, let us actually do any kind of sport that we are doing. Sport speaks the best language to everybody.
Tunataka tutafute talents. Zile raw talents kutoka kule nyumbani mashinani mahali tuko leo.
Hizi mbio za Chepsaita, like all other sports, zinaleta watu pamoja, We want to use this event to uplift the lives of the community.
Anafurahia hii mchezo sana. Hata sikaange naambianga watu tuende Jepsaita.
Wanafunzi wakimbie ili wakuze talanta ya mbio ama kuhimiza tena elimu.
This is the place to be. Hapa ndipo mahali wanastahili kuwa tarehe 7. Wale watoto walikimbia last year, wamekimbia mpaka wamefuka mipaka zetu za Kenya.
Hey there, friends. Welcome to Kids on the Block, where fun and imagination come alive. We dive into magical world filled with exciting adventures and awesome friends.
What position were you in?
I was number 2.
What position were you?
Number 1.
He decided to cross the bridge by his house and look for food on the other side.
We're going to do half cup of chocolate chips, and the other one, we're going to do half cup of the blueberries.
So, grab your imagination hats and get ready to explore with us. Join us every Saturday at 9 a.m.
Wednesday at this particular time, focusing on your relationship. Mapenzi yako inaendeleaje? Is it a long distance relationship? Talk to us and tell us your experience so far on the same. The numbers on your screens right now. To call in live, tell us your name, where you're calling us from, and kindly have your TV sound off. 0795-045-864. Jen Gitaus, she's a psychologist, as well as Gabriel Nyamu, Papa's coach, right here with us, and we've been breaking down this conversation, and I brought up a hypothetical couple of Susan and Steve. And before the break, we were trying to understand how, on that day, they're communicating that one of us is going to go out of the country for a particular time, how it's going to go. So Gitau, you're breaking it down for us, and you brought in the whole aspect of the young people. So there's also this question of utarudi lini, when will you come back? Is it a healthy question?
You see, first of all, when you think about now Steve and Susan, by the time he's even coming to this point of going out of the country to Australia, chances are they have already communicated. It should not be a surprise, because as we keep talking, you're telling me about your goals, and I'm also communicating my goals to you, that I actually aspire to go out of the country. By the time you're making your applications, if we are truly in love, you're already informing me. So by the time everything, you're kitu inaiva, we're already in communication. So it should not really surprise me.
What if it's a red flag for the other party? Let's say Susan doesn't want this. I mean she definitely loves this man with all others, but going out of the country and for the long distance itself is a red flag, and she won't want it.
Well, it's okay. You don't have to want everything that I like. Because you see, first of all, I talked about singleness.
Yes.
And this is something that I'm really trying on when it comes to my counseling field, I'm really trying to promote this issue of singleness, because when you are single of goals and everything, when you develop I communicate to you my plans. When I communicate to you my plans, you don't have to necessarily accept them. You can challenge them, but even as you challenge them, if you don't like guys traveling out of the country, then it's okay. The chances are open. You can always move on, The problem will come in, or rather it will be a red flag, if it is just sudden, if I just come and drop the bomb on the table. But if it has been ongoing, surely then what is the surprise? And if we have a strong relationship, then what is the problem? Because I may be going out there, the going of the Steve may even make the relationship better, because she can as well join Steve on the other side, depending on whether the other side is faring better than here, Again, if he's going to develop his career, that career, as Gabriel said, it's a shared goal. So when he develops his career, it's for all of us. He cannot stick here earning 50,000, and yet when he goes there and after developing his career, he come here earning 300,000. It means that he'll be able to climb up the ladder very, very fast. So it has to be for all of us. But if it's a red flag, maybe even the guy also want to take off from Susan, which is still okay, I mean.
But then now for that question of utarudi lini, when will you come back? Because you've said communication, and a very constant communication, particularly in this digital age, Nyamu.
Yeah.
The constant communication now, let's say from Susan, that in every single video call, at the end of it is utarudi lini. I mean, okay, coming from the children that really want to miss you, but then as a couple, is that a healthy question?
I would say I don't see that question should probably be a tip of the iceberg.
Okay.
It is, and that's why communication is something that is lacking. There's deficiency of communication in many relationships. You need to peel the onion. How does this affect? Yes, peel the onion from that question. Go to the other layer. How does it make you feel? Are there fears? Are there anxiety? Are there uncertainty? When you peel the onion is when actually you're able to get, hey, maybe I'm feeling. If you go, you actually may forget me. So the question actually is not when are you coming back. The real question could have been, maybe the truth when you peel the onion, are you not likely to leave me when you go? At least it's not communicated. Yes. So you need to, don't judge just from that face value of the communication. I think when you start and master how to peel communication by probing, you actually may get, at the heart there's something else. But I must say this, which may sound a little bit difficult to reconcile with, especially marriage. It is not sustained by love. It's actually sustained by knowledge, understanding, and wisdom.
Okay. Very true.
It is not about love. If you really don't apply your heart to understanding, to knowledge, to wisdom, you cannot sustain love. Even, in fact, many divorces are people you love. You hear somebody saying, I still love so-and-so, but they're divorcing. Because relationships are not necessarily sustained by that. But if there is understanding, and that's why it's important to be able to apply each other, even to get exposed, get counseling, get coaching, get mentoring, get, because you're applying your mind to knowledge. Because sometimes your imitation of your orientation of life, you've never traveled, you don't know the dynamics of the globalization and all that. You might be that, let me use the word, maybe an exposure, not being exposed, can be actually, that ignorance could be the cause of your trouble.
And in that whole spirit of understanding, I'll start with you, a question for both of you. In that whole spirit of understanding each other, you'd also talked about the cues that you'd pick up when you're just living someone. This person doesn't even have to talk, but you can tell they're angry, they're either happy. But then with that very long distance relationship, miles, sasa, you in Nairobi, this other person is in Australia, and it's a video call. What kind of red flags do you pick up when for months you had been getting very nice communication, and then suddenly this person is not maybe talking to you, and then you start assuming? How do you go about that, Nyamu?
I think one of the things I see mostly in relationships, whether it's for marriage or even friendship, is the extent of vulnerability. I can tell how much genuine you are to the extent in which I can see you being vulnerable. And especially for men, we have a challenge there. Because lately we go to the deep depth of our vulnerability.
Oh, yes.
Because that's where I need to share with you my fear. This person who always project energy, enthusiasm, everything is, a hype and all that, you need to be very cautious there. Because life is not like that. Life has ups and downs. I need to see you melt down, dread something. I need to see, of course, one day you're passionate, that is actually making you human. So when you see just a kawan, like that the chances is it's a makeup. By the time I'm coming to that video, I've already rehearsed, go to the mirror and rehearse, I'm going to make this impression. So one way for me, I usually say is, try to make sure at least you're able to pick all the moments, because that's how you're able to get a true picture of the real person. If you only see a one side only, you're always happy, joyous, there's no sorrow in your life, be careful. Chances are these are makeup. So I think some of those things can help you just get a cue of, I don't think this is real. Yes.
And Guitar, the same. Susan and Steve here. Steve is there let's say 1 month later. And Susan was, I'll call Mezoya, how Steve talks, let's say, for example, even on video calls. And then one or two video calls later, she realizes, there's a way now he's changed, and she starts assuming. What's the danger in that?
Yeah, so I think I'm looking at maybe just an analogy or an example from the ICU. When that whatever goes online, it really scares the doctor.
Yeah.
But when it is yeah, it's quite promising. So there's this issue of nonverbals, which is also now a cons when it comes to long distance. Because if you're very good at picking the nonverbals,
yes,
that is very, very perfect when you're living together, because you can really read that. But when it is long distance, that really can be, you know. However, just like he said, it is not abnormal for him to be up one day, down another time. And I should not be so quick, you know, to say that the fact that he didn't talk to me, now he's not interested with me. First of all, be interested with yourself. When you're so much interested with yourself, when you have the energy for you, you know, don't send fears. By the way, people, I don't want somebody who is so scared, you know, now because I'm gone, you want to cling. People who don't cling, they attract love. Because I wonder, why doesn't he want to cling? So I want to go, you see? So I would say that even in today's generation, you really don't have to keep on seeking attention, because I think what is happening with many people is that they want a lot of attention. So when that attention is not forthcoming, it keeps on giving you fears. And still that goes back to the child development, how you were socialized, how you grew up. So you've developed a lot of unnecessary fears, such that when he's not in a mood, for example, he's in Australia, the climate could be very different. I actually don't know how he woke up. He's trying to put up a strong face. This is a new whole experience, culture shock and everything. So unlike me, who's my whatever is still straight, him is just, you know, or her, you know, her thing, she's just trying to, you know, get comfortable with every other thing. And so I don't expect her to be standard like I could be on this side. Don't be so quick to judge. And more so, why negative? Why not positive?
Right.
Suppose he's not feeling well. You know, just suppose
Right.
the person is not feeling well.
Right.
You know, yeah, so it is just fair to be positive. Let us stop being negative, and more so, accept yourself. First of all, build you. But it's a very good opportunity. Your partner being out there, it's a very good opportunity to build you. Wake up with the exercises so that you're so strong for you.
and you know, the whole spirit of it, building you, because I know we've definitely talked about the need for trust. But now you have external factors here, largely your friends, because as you said, you moving out of the country would definitely affect even other people. So you have your very close friends, and then now you have those in-laws who are very, very good advisors, you know. And now in our case here for Susan and Steve, they come and tell Susan, "Ai, huyu mtu wako huko Australia, kuna watu wengine huko," you know. So wewe, the best thing is where to move on, you know. Yes.
Yeah.
For such couples, and how do you know, see the kind of advice you get from your very close friends and even family members advising about this relationship that you're in, and then you maintain whatever you need?
I think it can be summarized into this: listen to anyone, but make your own decision. I don't have an issue whether in-laws telling you things, giving that's their perspective, that's their own view. And it's okay, because sometimes in Johari's we do these things that they are seeing me, I'm not seeing. It's okay, I'll reason. Does not necessarily mean the judgment and the decision that I'm going to make is because of them. So the challenge is whether it's your in-law or your friends dictate now your decision. So listening is okay, because they might give you some perspective you have not seen, and therefore when you take it, make it now your own personal initiative, probably to probe, to investigate, and then make your independent decision. Because I've also seen places where you don't know the intent even of this friend. Probably they are jealous about it. You never know, as much as you may call them friends. So, and that's why I think the issue of building you is very important. As a purpose coach, I'm more keen on, first of all, are you clear with your own life purpose? Because even that relationship that you're looking for should just be a way of an enabler to your own individual life purpose. But if you're struggling with yourself, you will project that as a struggle of the relationship. only later to realize actually it's you have an issue. You have gaps within yourself. Maybe as you're growing up, there are traumas you gathered along the way. There are experiences that are a little traumatic that you went through. You saw either your dad who went there and got another wife. So now you're filling in that gap yourself. Not because it is true, but because yourself have inadequacy, have some heartaches, have some bad memories of the relationship that almost went. Because one of the things, and it's a good thing that God has given us, the power of the mind, the imagination, and that helps you predict. So human being is curious about tomorrow. So when you see like a pattern like, hey, I saw my dad almost follow the same path, and the relationship ended up like this, you also want to use that as a template, and therefore that feeds your fear. And whatever you feed grows. So if you feed that fear, it will grow. And it will actually express itself, and you see actually that reflecting in your life. So I would say it is good to have maturity at your personal level, to be whole and to be able to exercise your discretion and your own decision making. As much as don't lock your ears to listen to people. It's okay. Listen, I'll listen to Stanley, to Jane. Let me hear, but I'll make my own discretion so that I own up that decision. So if I'm saying, I think you have said too much, too long, 3 years, I can't do it, it's my decision, not so and so told me. Because if it's so and so, when things change, you start blame game. Yeah.
Right. So as experts, I want you to help all the Susan and Steves out here to understand they're in that process of our hypothetical, they're probably, let's say, maybe they're even planning on this kind of a relationship. And on Asema, by January, this is what is going to happen. So they have about a few months. And one of the questions is, adaptability. There's something you posted on your LinkedIn that says you can have a plan but still be lacking in strategy. So it ilinifurahisha sana. Because, I mean, for the same, the kind of, this plan that you're talking about here, yes, you have this whole plan and foundation, but the strategy might really be lacking. So how do you plan? Help us understand kind of strategies that couples can make in this relationship.
Yeah, I think once this couple come together, they need to agree on a few things here and there. I remember initially you talked about also issues of having a child. How old are they? Because you must bring everything on the table about the age. If somebody is gone for 4 years, and unlike our generation where in our 20s we had all our children, or maybe like by the early 30s, you realize that these people, they are not in a hurry, they are not in a hurry to, but now here you are, I'm 34, you are gone for 7 years, by the time you are coming back, or I'm coming back, the menopause has already hit, or whatever it is, I think it is very, very good to be real, put everything on the table, and once you've put everything on the table, what are the goals, the short-term goals, and the long-term goals, and how can you achieve them? Because you see, the fact that you've gone to wherever, it's not like I'm also locked out. I can actually come and visit you in Australia, or you can come back. You don't have to be after 6 years. You can also come midway, because of the agreement that we have. And I also like what Gabriel has said about the people feeding you. People will feed you with everything, but it is you who choose what you want to digest. Yeah? People will give you anything and everything. And by the way, it is very good to listen, as you said, because these people, they'll open you up to a perspective that you're not aware of. But whatever fears you have, since you love your person, why don't you ask? Probe. Ask them, this is the way I am feeling. Let him address your fears, because by the way, your fears could be founded. And it is true. People want to ametendwa, and I may not be an exception or Lily. However, I don't have to, just like you said, thinking that my dad's thing or my mom's thing is the template. Also, there are people who can be trusted out here. So I cannot really move with the same template that vile mamangu alifanywa hata mimi nitafanyiwa. Not really. So let us table our goals. What are your goals? So you have to keep ticking as you move along. How is his going affecting me, my singleness? Are you getting it? If I'm not able to eat for 3-4 years, then I need to question, what am I waiting for? Because it is true, people have gone out there. Oh, I don't have paper. They went to the US. They are hiding there. They are hiding there. You don't know what time they'll ever come back, or even whether they'll ever come back. Are you comfortable with it? And now, the other thing I have to tell our locals is that unlike Westerners, We fear what other people say. Other people say, but I'm the one who will be dying. I'm the one who is dying in the inside. What will my mother-in-law say? What will who say? Who? Who is that? So that's why I keep on talking about the singleness and building me. So first of all, I have to consider me and my God, you know. So the other people are secondary. What they want or what they don't want, that is theirs. Because when I'll be suffering, they're the very people who will be calling me a fool. You are fooled. For 10 years, mtu alikaa huko, and you kept waiting. So was I comfortable waiting? Because if I was, for sure, from the inside, I would not feel challenged. I won't feel like I'm suffering because I purposed to wait. So what was I waiting for? That is very, very key. Yeah.
Nyamu, on your part, you can have a plan but still be lacking in strategy.
Yes.
Susan and Steve have already, there's the long distance sessions,
yes,
maybe a couple of months in, and they're wondering, okay, we are trying this and this and this. From your perspective, what kind of things, what kind of hacks can they put in to ensure that it's a bit easier?
Okay. In the beginning, of course, it's just to make sure they have clarity of the goal, or sometimes the purpose itself. Where are you going?
This is before the traveling happens.
Yeah, we start from there. Then during that distance now, maybe let's say 5 years, there has to be intentional evaluation. During and that's why I think that comment I made on Facebook, yes, you can have a plan but not a strategy. Sometimes a plan may just have a plan to build a house.
Yes.
But you need clear strategy that how will you win? What will make it stick? Like, for example, how will we maintain intimacy as much as we are afar from each other? You know, that's a critical issue. Sometimes if you didn't have that intent in the beginning, you'll find even your video calls and your chats and all that are transactional. They are not deep. You just say, how are you? Hey, you woke up well? Hey, did you take breakfast? That's it. No. And that will not actually build an intimacy. But actually, if there is a strategy, you'll actually be saying, we will be calling each other on a video, and each other will give each other, let's say, 10 minutes to share your fears, your anxiety, the depth, not just lipstick details of politics and shy and chief and all that. Not external issues. Because you may, if you don't have a strategy, you end up running through the 6 years, maybe when you're distant from each other, but actually you have not built anything. You are coming back actually to start where you left. So strategy will mean an intentional way of engagement, meaning the touch points that we have, and even when we meet, what exactly are we sharing? So if there are goals, we are evaluating our goals. By the way, are you feeling lonely? You know, that's a very difficult question to ask. But if you didn't have a strategy, you won't ask such kind of a question. You'll be asking, how are studies? How is job? How is your boss? And stop there.
But one would wonder, as much as yes, you have this bulletproof kind of a strategy, I mean, loneliness will definitely kick in if you're a couple that is used to Netflix and chill, you know, kind of cuddles, morning to afternoon, evening, you know, mezoya, the physical touch is the strong point in this relationship. But then boom, for a number of months, it's not there. And so you're trying to wonder, how does this go? How do you now handle this?
It will be part of the agenda of that discussion. Because remember, we are doing life together. So whatever is going through me, I also need to let you know. I'm feeling lonely. I feel like I'm losing something. I feel like now I don't think my patience is kind of running dry. But to be candid enough and vulnerable to share that is not very easy. Because you have to have built trust, honesty in the conversation. And that's why I like, if you had a strategy, then you'll even have planned within the 6 years, hey, I need to come quarterly or twice a year and all that, each of us, maybe me, I come and the other person go and all that. Well, that should be intentional. And don't feel guilty when you're sharing, hey, I feel like I'm losing the grip of it. That's vulnerability. Share. Out of it, I even know, and for those who are believers, I know how to pray with you. Because if I say, hey, you're losing your cool or your control, I will have an agenda to pray for you. And then just to ask, how are you adjusting? How are you adapting about it? But the challenge is if there is silence now. Because the moment I shut and I don't express that, do you know what will happen? I'll be looking for other mpango ya candles to relate and express that.
So what I'm getting from both of you is whatever Steve is going through, each and every single thing is going through in Australia, he should be telling Susan back in Nairobi, and vice versa, whatever Susan is going through here in Nairobi, Jamia Nairobi, the subtle things she should be sharing. Is that right, Gitau?
Yeah, you have to be saying everything, first of all, to keep the ball rolling. Because like he's saying, First of all, it's good to be very real. Here you are, for example, you are intimate physically, and now the person you're preparing to go. By then, that's an issue you should even sit down and ask yourself, now that this thing has been happening every other day, what will happen when it comes to a month, 2 months, 6 months, 1 year? How will you go about it? And then he tells me, this is how I'll manage it, you know? Because you see, like now, I have also to tell him, how will I do it? Because what is happening in many distance relationships, actually, the kind of people are only going out physically. They're becoming unfaithful physically. They want to be faithful in every other thing. But physical intimacy is actually what seems to be lacking. I don't mind your money. You keep sending the money. We can be building the house. But in the meantime, somebody is sorting me. Somebody is sorting him or he's sorting other people, you know? So we need to come out and tell each other, so how will you go about on that particular area? Because probably there's a way we can communicate. Mpaka hii anafika kule, na ananifikisha kule in our own communication, because we have an agreement. So sincerely, the issue of coming out vulnerable, tell me, I will not start thinking, no, you know, like he may fear, for example, if he tells me he's missing this thing, and then I'm not there, sasa ataenda kutafuta wasichana wengine, you know, just because he has said. No, he's speaking his mind. So I should not always speak it like, now that he's talking about it, he'll automatically, you know, and as he said, depending on your faith again, he's also telling me, please pray for me. Nimefika mwisho on this. And out of that communication, guess what? He'll give me fuel for another 2, 3, 4 days. Then another 3, 4 days, do the same communication. Then that very talk again takes me to another level, and you keep going. That is how you keep the ball rolling. And before you know it, he's even back home.
What if this fuel, yes, inaingia lakini isaidie gari? In the sense that as much as, yes, you're having this bulletproof strategy that Nyamu is talking about, but then for either party, they feel bit by bit wameanza withdraw from this relationship. How does this go about?
You have to start from what you can see, build on what is tangible. Because, okay, fine, you're losing, the fuel is not helping. But on which area isn't it helping? Because you see, he's away, it is true. We are able to do things that we were not able to do previously because probably we didn't have funds. For example, nowadays in Kenya, we have a problem with jobs. So he didn't have a job. He was always sitting in the house. He was actually going into depression and all that, you know. And now a time has come, because I've seen that with quite a number of my friends. A time has come, the Lord, I'll say the Lord has blessed, because it depends now here. The Lord has blessed this man or this woman with a good job to go out there. So I think what we need to amplify is what you've been able now to achieve, what you were not able to achieve previously. And then tuache ni kujifanya, you realize that even this person, when he was at home, maybe even never used to have this thing, even for 3 months, 4 months. Because again, the issue of funds was a big issue. So you never had it for 4 or 5 months. So why do you want to amplify this time around and feel like you want now to go out just because now there's the warmth of the money?
Right.
Yeah.
Nyamu and Gitau, because of the interest of time, I'll let you give the parting shots and speak to the young people particularly, because Munakwaga Mmasema, we do not have we're not bringing the effort. It is something that you had alluded to earlier, Nyamu. The effort that should be there in relationships. It may dwindle for younger relationships. Nyamu, I'll start with you on what young people should do and how the mentality maybe should change.
One of the things that I think as a principle I've lived by, and I've seen it work even when I do coaching, is that life is an enterprise. Enterprise are driven by investment. What have you invested? There's this analogy of what is in it for me. It's what is killing people, because I see myself just as a receiver. But the moment you change to be you actually a giver, meaning what have you invested in relationships? Your investment, if you invested somewhere in an asset and then one day guys come to try to demolish, you feel pain, actually go and defend it. The reason why you take life and relationships so casual is because people are not invested in the relationship. Now, you want to withdraw in an account you have never deposited, and that's a problem. So the extent in which you are a giver, so two of you are investing in one unified relationship, that is what is likely to keep you interested I'm interested because I'm a stakeholder in this.
Right.
But then finally, let's not forget, we are doing life in a community. Don't be in an island. Yes, you're two of you, but also there's another circle. I need to have some other circle of men who I'm also able to relate with. And from a man to man, they can also keep check on me, keep me accountable, ask me tough questions for accountability. So also live within a community. But when you're isolated, sometimes, that's when the devil comes and tries to give you some good, smart ideas. So be in a community. Right. You'll be able to get this. But at the end of the day, pray for each other.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Gitau, your last thoughts, particularly really for us young people.
Yeah, so I would call for commitment. First of all, you put straight your purpose. You need to know what you are called to do. You need to know your assignment. You need to know that you are complete, just the way you are. People don't come to complete you. They only come to complement you. And again, as he has said, you need to invest in this very relationship. You need to know what you are. Don't go for things just because your friends are going for such things. Don't look at men or women from their prosperity point of view, so that other girls can see hata mimi wangu ako hivi, so that tukipost kwa hizo photos watu wananitambua. Watu watakutambua. Lakini wewe utajipata kwa Airbnb kama umekatakatwa. You see? Yeah. So you really need to put straight your purpose. You need to know what you want. If I want you stand, what is it that I want in you? Is it just because you're in the media industry, ati sasa ule ndio boyfriend wangu anaonekana? No. We need to be very, very clear on our purpose. We need to know what we want. And when I know what I want, I will go for it and I'll strain for it. And no matter how many hills, just like our proverb said, that I have to go over, yes, I will go over for that particular thing. And so my name is Jane Gitau, and my number is 0721568717. I am a certified mediator and a clinical psychology.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Jane Gitau, as she has said, and Gabriel Nyamu, Papa's coach. He's also a certified human capital transformation consultant. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen, for the wise words that you've spewed on us. I'll also spew some wise words on you, viewers. Distance is not measured in miles, but in affection. Distance is not measured in miles, but in affection. Think about that this morning. Have yourself a wonderful morning. From yours truly, Stanley Nyering.